Hey, what's up, Jeff? This is finally a demo video for you for your Ultimate Works Ahsoka's, Ahsoka's. I finally got the blades done. I got the material in with the mail call today. It was a couple days late, but that's okay. Mail's been a little bit crazy here, I think, for everybody. But got the blades made. Then I had to do some sanding. And when I was testing the blades, something was wrong with the shorter blades. So I ended up taking that one apart and redoing it. It's been a little bit of a rough week for me for sabers, but just you know, trying to get through it, got them done. I am pretty happy with how these turned out, both your Sheen and your Shoto. I'm not sure how other people are doing these guys. I made them completely removable chassis because the button configuration is a little it's just a bit unique on these guys. So, you know, your buttons are usually up here somewhere, your switches. But on these guys, you've got two switches. Back here, you've got one that is actually this screw for your Covertech. That's a switch. And then over here, this black button, this is a switch also. So we're gonna open up the Sheen first. There is a certain way that you need to put this chassis in. So this switch box right here, we always wanna think of this as the saber being upright, okay? So we're gonna open this. Also, you wanna make sure that this is backed out a little bit. You don't need to use this as a blade retention while you're messing with the saber, only when you're not. So if you try to crank down on this guy, when the chassis is in with a battery, it's not the auxiliary button, or some things will get thrown off a little bit because this wants to crank everything that way. So no need to crank down on this. You can just leave it right there where it's loose, or when you're about to take the chassis out, just back it up a hair. So this particular chassis, this goes all the way up and butts up against the end of the pommel. So what you want to do to get this out is first we want to take this off. This is two pieces here. So your black ring and your pommel cap. So we're going to take that out. We're going to take our finger, we're going to go in here, and you can see your pixels in there, and I'll show you that better when I take the chassis out. But you want to take your finger on the side of that guy, just find a place on the side and don't press up against the pins, press up against the side of the PCB. Just take it and push it with your finger, just like that, and you'll see it pop out there. Now from here, you can take it the rest of the way and just gently pull it out. And this is what we've got. So this Pixel PCB actually came with your kit. So that's what I used, right? These switches also came with your kit. So you got a switch here, and then you've got a switch here. It came with 4 of these. I found that the other 2 to be a little bit too big for the Shoto, so I use micro tactiles that I'll show you in a second, but I was able to utilize them on the Sheen here. You also have the speakers that came with your kit. So these were the provided speakers in your kit. I used everything that came in it. This is your CFX board right here. You've got easy access to your SD card. You can pop that in and out with your finger right there. You don't even have to lift the board up. And then you have a removable battery system right here. So I will be sending 2 batteries with this guy, but let me take one out. We're just gonna test one at a time anyway, so we could focus one at a time on what's going on. So I'm gonna put this battery in. Spring side is your negative.
I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?
So this is what I was talking about when switch box is the top, right? So you want the top. So this is the top, obviously, where the board's at. So this is face up, and their switch box is face up. It needs to go that way. It cannot go this way. The switches won't line properly. It needs to go this way, just like that. Just like that, boom. So the diameter change in this chamber is a little, it's just got machine marks on it. So it's not very smooth and accurate all the way through. There's a little piece right here in the very end where it kicks off this activation button as you're sliding in the last part of it. It's no big deal. You get past it and then you get to the switch, and then you can just turn it off with the switch. But there, you can feel it with your fingers, and then you can see it too when you, I don't know, I'm probably not gonna be able to catch it on the camera. I can't, it's not catching really well. But when you look at it in the light, you'll see it along the sides, just the machined orbital pieces in there. And it does throw the dimensions off a little bit back and forth as you go along. So while we've got this, we're gonna put it in here. Remember, it might fire up. You're gonna wanna make sure it's perfectly straight. I gave you these two black pieces along your chassis. You've got that piece, and then you've got that piece that I did not sand. Those also help you align your switches, right? Because it's just like a straight line down to your switches. So we're gonna put that in there. Like I said, activation might go off as we're pushing the last little bit in. It usually goes off about right here.
The Jedi was sighted
Right like that,
entering
right?
the lower city. Then it's just as our Lord predicted.
So when you push this in, you push it in all the way. I made it to where your speaker is exactly flush with the end of that guy. So that's how you know it's all the way in. So we're gonna take your black ring, we're gonna put it in. And then this goes just like that. And drop your ring too. And then we're gonna put this pommel cap on. Just like this. That pommel cap actually goes around the speaker on the inside, encapsulates it, and locks everything together. So I'm gonna put this down for a second and show you the blades, right? So we have two different size blades. I made them each the size that you wanted. We've got a 32-inch that'll go with the one that we're testing right now. And then 26, I believe. I forgot what it is offhand, but it was the two sizes that you asked me for right here. So we're gonna go with the longer blade. What I like to do on this guy is I will turn the saber on first before I put the blade in. And then when the blade makes contact with the pins and it lights up, then you can stop pressing on it, right? Because you don't want to go mashing down on this guy. So your blade retention is right here, but I'm not going to use that for the sake of this video. So I'm just going to wake the board up.
The Jedi was sighted entering the lower city. Then it's just as our Lord predicted.
Now I'm going to turn the saber on. And you can see your LEDs working well. And I'm going to take the blade and just gently go down with it. Everything's lined up properly. See? So then there, I made contact with the pins and the blade went on. At that point, you can lock down your blade retention. And then I could turn the blade off and then activation back on. Just like that. And then this is your auxiliary. So we could tap it for blaster deflex. Or we could hold it down for blade lockup. Just like that, right? Now if we turn the saber off, you want to get to a different sound font, you just hold down your auxiliary until you hear this.
Sound bank selection.
Now you can travel up or down your menu with either button.
Exit menu. The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
Let's go back to the other Ahsoka one. So when you find one you like, just hold a button down.
It was foretold that you would be here. Our long-awaited meeting has come at last.
And then activation. Auxiliary. I don't usually spend too much time on the blades because I'm usually using my test blade, but because I made these for you, I'm going to rotate this so that you can see the blade. All right, and then I'm going to hold down blade lockup so you can see it all the way through. And then we'll turn it off, just like that. So that's the Sheen, and then we'll just twist it out. If you find that it's hard, I sanded these blades quite a bit. This is a tight blade socket in here, but if you find that it's a little too tight for your liking, you can sand them down a little bit more. It's something I like. It's at a point where I like because it's a little difficult to get in there, but then you don't even need to use the blade retention. So depending on what you plan on doing with it, I just turn mine on every once in a while. I'll give them a little bit of a swing and then put them up, but you know, totally up to you, but they do fit. So we're gonna take the battery out of this guy. We're gonna screw the pommel cap. When we go to push this back this way, it might activate again because of that machining that I told you on the inside. And then it made a liar out of me and didn't do it, but that's okay. So we'll just pull it gently. It'll come right out. And then we're going to take the battery out of here. Let me get something real quick. I find it a little bit difficult to pop the battery out because I don't have any fingernails. I keep them cut down pretty low. If you got fingernails, you could get in there easy. If not, you can use, I'm using tweezers, but they have a plastic coating on them. So just be careful shoving any bare metal in there. You don't really want to do that. But you can pop the battery out that way, and then we'll just put the chassis right back where it goes in this guy for storage and shipping. Just like that. So the biggest, I guess my two biggest pointers on this guy would be chassis orientation, right? When you put it in. And then I do like to ignite the saber before I actually put the blade in, and then make that connection and then stop instead of mashing it down and then trying to guess. So that's your Sheen right here. And we'll move over to the Shoto, and then we'll test the shorter blade as well. So the Shoto is going to be the same thing. It does have a chassis orientation. But I'm using this gold greebly right here as my orientation for the saber being upright, right? So you've got your switches right here and right here, and I'm considering this to be the top side of your Sheen, right? So we'll just unscrew the pommel here. This one does not have a black ring, so it's a single piece pommel cap that comes right off. And then we can do the same thing. We're just going to put our finger in here, find a place that doesn't have the pins on the side, and just kind of give her a push with our finger. It comes right out, but that's just the easiest way to take it out. So this is going to be almost the exact same setup as your Sheen. It's just, of course, a lot shorter. So your board's in the same spot, but your pins are just right here next to the board, right? So that I could give you as much blade depth as I possibly could. And this is what I was talking about with my micro tactile switches. I had to use those to keep it very low profile. There was just no way of using the switches that came with this kit. So I'm not exactly sure what their thought process was. I just did what I thought worked best, right? So speaker that was provided though. So we're gonna throw a battery in this guy.
Hello, Master. It's been a while.
So chassis orientation is the same here. This is the top. These two black rails right here on both sides help you align all the way down so you don't have to guess where the switches are at. Both of these chassis push into place and they stop exactly where they need to be. So I made those rails stop, and you can see that one is almost flush with the end of this saber, but that's exactly where it needs to be. And then this guy wraps around and it goes in. The reason it sticks out a little bit here is because I made it touch the end of that ring right there, that little diameter change, and it keeps it from pushing back. So we're just going to screw this in. Before we put the blade in it, we're going to go ahead and ignite it. Hang on, buddy. I don't think I lined it up properly. Spend more time trying to explain it than actually doing it.
Hello, Master. It's been a while.
Okay. Really need to pay attention when you're putting this in. It will stay within the rails, but you do need to just make sure that you're aligning it properly as you're going in. So, you know, instead of looking at your phone and doing a video, look at the saber. So on this one, this is going to be your activation right here, right? Right here. So your Covertech. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other one, is we're going to activate this. You see your pixels are working, and we've got your shorter blade. And we're going to go in softly until we make contact, just like that. And at that point, you can lock in your blade retention screw, which is right here. But I'm not going to do it for the purpose of this video. So you can see your blade nice and bright. This is your auxiliary over here. So we can tap it for blaster deflex. You want to make sure that you're pressing right in the middle of this guy. This is basically a nut on the inside and it's hollow right in the middle, right? It's kind of a weird plunger system, but if you press it right in the middle, you'll make contact with that micro tactile switch, and then you can hold it down for blade lockup. Now, on any one of these sound fonts, if you don't like the color of your blade on either blade, let me do that again. You can hold down your auxiliary and twist your wrist and then let go. You'll hear Spectrum. Now you can turn your saber like this, and you can pick whatever color you want. So Ahsoka, let's go with blue. And you find one that you like, just tap a button, just like that. Now when you turn it off and back on, you got blue. You'll find that these micro tactiles have a little bit different feel than the huge tactile switches that you've got in your Sheen, just because they're a little smaller. And then we'll turn this off, and we'll hold down our auxiliary to get to our sound fonts.
Sound bank selection.
Now, we can cycle through a few of these. And when you find one you like, of course, just hold the button down. Then activate. Just like that. And we'll turn it off. So yeah, they have a little bit different feel. You need to press them a little bit harder to get them to activate. Whereas the bigger ones are right up against the switch. I chose to not go right up against the switch with these micro tactiles because they are a lot more, not sensitive, but they're not as robust as the other ones. So I didn't want them constantly rubbing up against the switch back and forth every time you took this chassis out because they would break. They're not made to have that kind of force going back and forth on them all the time, right? So they're small, but they're there and they engage. So we'll just pop the chassis out real quick, and then I'll take the battery out this later. But as you can see, that SD card is the one that you sent me. It has all of your sound fonts on it. I think you had about 80 or so. And so that one has all of them on it. But the other one, the Sheen, has about 40 of them because I used the standard SD card that came with the CFX, and it would not hold all of the sound fonts that you gave me. I think that one is like a 4 gigabyte, and then the one that you sent me here that I put in the small guy is 16. But I made sure that all of your configurations and your colors and all your setups are exactly the same. So if you ever wanted to swap out the SD card on the Sheen, you could just copy and paste everything and then add the other 40 fonts that aren't on there. Everything's already set for you. I had to go through your config and change a few things. So that is your Ahsoka set and your blade, sir. Hope they came out the way you want. If you got any questions, please let me know. Thanks.